Marcelo just disconnected. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because he did actually text me saying if I would mind doing mine after Rupesh, and I have no problem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you should go on. I think he's probably out of the for whatever reason, Zoom kicked him up often. Yeah, so you should go on, Nasser.
Okay, yeah, that's absolutely. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I'm Nasser Siabi. I actually don't know why I was invited to do this after watching the other presentations. Maybe Marcelo thought I could do the comedy part, you know, keep people entertained, but I'm really inspired. I was absolutely taken aback with everything I heard from Beverly and from Mark, and incredible stories. But hopefully I have something useful some of you aspiring young people might want to hear. Just give you a background about myself. I was, whoops, sorry, there's too much wind in my room. I'm sorry. This is not a digital background. This is actually a real window. I was born in Iran 58 years ago. Family of my father and was a working class person. He left his tiny village in north of Iran to go to the capital city and became a baker at the age of 13. So never had an education, the 5 brothers, and he always wanted us to go and become doctors and engineers. That's a father that who never had the opportunities wanted us to do our best. And that actually has made my life what it is. The 2 things in my life defined what made me today. So what I grew up later on in life and went through a series of problems in earlier years education because I had a visual impairment. One of my eyes was almost 10% with vision, the other one with about 30. So in a classical way, I could be signed off as a blind person, registered blind. But I went through life until the age of about 15. No one actually knew about it. I never told anyone. So going to school and sitting with your friends, it wasn't very easy because I couldn't see what the teachers were writing on the board. So I've always struggled until the age of 15, 16 in my early day schools. I came back, my father noticed I was actually getting very close to the book in my eyes, and he took me to a doctor and he says, well, I'm quite fascinated how he's managed to live so long without actually telling people he can't see. So, you know, he suggested I go abroad and do my, you know, get my eyes fixed. There was some operation I had to do. And at the age of 16, my father sent me to UK with my younger brother and I had an older brother here a couple of years before. So we came here for that purpose. And there was some political upheaval back in Iran in 1978, so we stayed. So there I was, starting at the age of 16, with virtually very low standards in education, especially in science. Math and physics wasn't my strongest subject. I always failed it really badly. And obviously English was second language, and I hardly could speak the language. I'd only been here for about 3-4 months. So starting in a college when I say from level 0 was an overstatement. We really struggled in every aspect. So we did make a start and we carried on. Then I realized actually in a smaller classroom with people who were on similar level to me, because I wasn't really on the top or middle or even a bottom class. I was in the well below the basement class. I actually learned things from basics, started to learn things much better because I actually got some confidence about myself. Previously, I thought I would never learn. I was not good enough. I never had any aspirations of what I wanted to become because I'd given up by the age of 15, 16. You just don't think the only thing you can do when you grow up is manual labor. So, I mean, it wasn't a very good life, but thankfully my father never gave up on me. That's very important for parents, always supporting the children, regardless of what the children are capable of, parents always push their children to do their best. And children don't often like that. They just say, well, you know, you don't understand. I know what I'm doing. But quite honestly, I mean, I've learned after 58 years, my father is the wisest man I've ever met. And the fact that he never studied in his life, and now I understand why he wanted us to be educated, because he realized opportunities come with education. And why I do what I do is all because of those two experiences in my life. One, education. Two, job opportunities and success. So just to go further, when I started at a school, at a college with very basic minimum knowledge, I gained confidence, and within a year, I actually caught up. In fact, I caught up with 70% of the school, the college, in terms of getting my O-levels in 1978. You know, that was really good achievement for a second language as English, and also with no knowledge previously. I managed to get 5 O-levels, went to do my A-levels, and then went to university, got my degree, got my master's. And by the age of 27, I got PhD in solid state physics and quantum mechanics, all mixed in, as well as computer science I had. So really showed me one thing: anyone is capable of achieving big things. Anyone can go on and to do great things, as long as they have the opportunity and the support. What makes the difference is your confidence. So that part of my life, really, when I came out of university, I was working in a computer company, really very much like, I didn't think I was clever enough. Still today, it lacked the confidence that most people have, because I always think I'm not good enough. And so when I finished my PhD, most of my friends got jobs in big companies. One of them is a very senior person in Intel. Another one works for NVIDIA company, and very big, you know, they really are senior in many big multinationals. Yet I thought, well, I'm not good enough for science anymore. I want to do something in commerce. So I went and started working for a computer company. One day, by accident, a friend of my university said, we have a disabled student, and you know, he needs some computer. Could you help him? I said, yeah, send him over. So this young fellow came in with his father on a wheelchair. This person was about 19. And he was pushed in a wheelchair with his father and a carer. He could barely speak, and he couldn't even breathe without assistance. So I kind of looked at him and I said, "Oh my God, why would he want to study? He's, you know, why doesn't he go home, and why do they have to make him to go to university?" And you know, it's that perception that people with disabilities are really not good enough to do anything. They should be like cared for, not to be put into this situation. So, and I kind of, as an act of kindness, I said, "Oh, hello, what's your name?" And obviously it's like quite patronizing to someone in a wheelchair, as if they don't have intellectual capacity to be spoken to properly. And the father said, "Sorry, he can't speak. He speaks, but with great difficulty. His name is Nick." I said, "Oh, what does Nick want to do?" He said, "Sorry, you need to talk to him. Why are you talking to me?" I said, I'm sorry. Again, I assumed he won't have the intelligence to answer me. And this poor chap, he struggled. He said, "I'm doing law." I said, "Law? Oh, great. What amazing. And where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to Oxford University." And I kind of thought for a minute, is this guy getting a place in Oxford because he's disabled? It's very tough to go to Oxford. 1 in 1,000 go to Oxford. And I said, "So is there a program for people with disabilities?" You know, that's how naive I was. And the father said, "No, he came top in his college. He got 3 A stars." And okay. That's when the reality hit me. People are a lot more intelligent than what appears from your looking at them. You know, there are a lot of people like Nick in this world. There are people who just don't get the opportunities like, because we form that impression the first time we see them. You know, how many autistic people do you see on this planet that you think, "Oh my God, poor kid"? Yet these are geniuses. You know, you've got so many mathematical geniuses who are autistic. We just don't know until you actually dig deeper in them. So I kind of thought, well, there must be more people like him. So I went after that. And found, yes, universities have lots of disabled people. Not all of them like Nick, but there are a lot of people with different disabilities, some of 90% of them not visible. Dyslexia is one of them. And the more I discovered, I found, well, these people need help. They can't just go in and buy a computer and just get on and with it. So I started putting a package of support around them, you know, some specialist software, some support, some training, some after sales like technical until they finish. Well, to date, since 1992, when I started that, we've helped around 500,000 people with disabilities. And we do that very easily because we know every person needs to do a job. Each job requires a tool requires the training. And once you give the tool, the right tool and the right training, any disabled person can overcome their disabilities. So, you know, when I'm looking at myself now saying, all I do is I'm a tool maker. I'm not a genius. And I actually see potential in a lot of people. I don't give up on people. And every time I see somebody who is less fortunate than me, I don't look at it and say, hey, I'm the intelligent one. I'm the one who's made it. No, I just think I had support. I was lucky. If I gave the same opportunities to this person, that person could be better than me. So it's my life mission to make sure every individual on this planet, if I live long enough, has the right opportunities, the right tools, so they can have access to employment. Employment actually is a cornerstone of everything to do with sustainability. If you don't have a job, you lose your health. You don't have life. You don't have any you know, motivations. You don't have anything to live for. And obviously, jobs come out of education. So going back in time, I want to make sure every child succeeds in education. And how they do that is actually try to bring new ways of teaching, new ways of getting children who struggle like I did, give them new tools to do that. So in earlier years education, now technology, what we call this assistive technology, is actually so amazing. You know, which one of you hasn't used Siri on iPhones, you know, or you've used voiceover on the actual iPhones? These built-in technologies are hardly known by teachers, by people, by students. Use them in the right way. A child who can't see can actually have everything read to them. A child who can't read can actually have a computer read to them. A child who actually can't write, they can actually speak and the computer can do them. So you think of any solution, you know, Stephen Hawking, the greatest mind of this century. He died a year ago, 2 years ago. The man was a genius. His body was a mess, you know, he couldn't do anything himself. However, he actually changed our way of perception of what the world is, the whole universe. Why? Because his brain is still intact. The brain is what actually makes people do. The rest of the body, mechanical parts, is what executes what the brain tells you. So I would say every one of us have a genius within us. It's identifying what that is and then work on that. So I'm always, when I talk to young people, I always say two things. Well, if I go back in time in my own youth, 17, 18, there are things I wouldn't change. That path that I took when I was 17, if I changed it, then I wouldn't have met my beautiful wife and my beautiful children wouldn't be here. Why would I want to do that? I would never give up on that. However, if I could go back in time and maybe change something, I would take education more seriously. I want to be the best in what I do, not because I want to show it off, because I know I can help more people. The other thing I found in life is that if you look at the most successful people, richest people on this planet, what they end up doing, saying they want to give something back. Well, it's nice to do that when you have it, but it's much better if you build that into your future ambition. Say, I want to help people. And along the way, I actually become successful and I help even more people. Because by making your future, your destiny, one and the same of people around you, then it brings you all the happiness, gives you the purpose to actually work harder. And actually, one of the things that you find, success doesn't come as an individual. Success comes as a collective team. People do things and you benefit from it. What you do is you build that team around you. It gives you that kind of a leadership, it gives you belonging. And I think if you're young and you want to really succeed, my father always said, work hard, don't give up, and always try to help others. Along the way, those three important principles will make you rich, make you successful, make you respected, and What you want to do is when you die, you leave a name behind that people don't curse, they actually admire. So, you know, these are very important things at a very young age to try to aim to goals in your life. And what I would always ask, again, the young people is, don't have ambitions are so high that you never achieve. Success is not in your hand. Success comes out of opportunities, hard work, and absolutely support that from the loved ones, people around you, people who encourage you rather than drag you down, people like who actually give you a helping hand. And those will only happen if they see the passion, if they see the hard work. And if you want to become successful for the wrong reason, then you won't have any of those three. If you suddenly say, I want to get rich, okay, great. Everyone wants to get rich. But I want to also get rich while I make others rich. That's something unique. You know, I would say the difference between a rich person and a person who actually wants to get rich with the rest of them is having a lake with lots of sweet water, clean water. What do you do with it? You can't drink it. You just leave it there. But if you're like a river, not only you've got that water coming in, you also have others benefiting from that water along the way. That to me is sustainable, gives me the pleasure in life to do more, but not do that at the cost and expense of others. So I think if I had that 5 minutes final piece to leave you with, always do your best in education. There is always help to get you over the barriers, over the problems. Think differently. If you are a disabled person, if you're a person who's struggling, one thing you have an advantage of over others is your resilience, because you've had to overcome so much barriers in your life. You actually end up becoming stronger. You don't give up easy. And everyone says failure, I mean, you've heard this, I'm sure, many times, failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is a step towards success. The more you fail, you learn, you get better. So COVID-19 is a good situation where I really want to end. COVID-19 taught us two things. We could be a kinder world, we could be a caring world and make sure everyone is on this journey together. We shouldn't have this big gap, divide in our society, the haves and have-nots, the educated and non-educated, the poor and the rich. These are really of the creation of humanity rather than by nature. What we need to actually think about, when this COVID-19 situation is over, there's a new normal. The new normal has two options: to be inclusive and have everyone move on the same path together, or leave the weak behind and carry on with us. That will actually destroy the world we know it, because the gap becomes so wide that we'll have wars, we have famine, we have people destitute. But I don't think we're going to go there. I think that we've learned something in the past few weeks. There are things more precious than money. There are things more precious than achievement and job success. It's called family, care, love, and being together. And I hope that when we come out of this, we look at the people who have been marginalized, people who've been weak and disabled, who haven't had job opportunities, who haven't had educational opportunities. Let's use the technology and let's use what we know, what we've learned, to try to get them on the same level playing field so we all can actually go and achieve. Technology has the ability to make everyone equal. So hopefully that's my part, and I'm sorry if it wasn't as exciting and interesting as what you heard earlier, but I hope it would be helping you guys.
That's fantastic. Thanks so much. It's really, really good. Any questions we may have for Nasser? Because we still have 5-10 minutes. So I would like Nasser also to talk about his solution for Zoom captioning, so he can have those sessions in multiple languages. But let's start with any questions about what he just said.
Either it was very profound or definitely wasn't as interesting. So I'll take the latter.
So it just take time for the people to have the session. So I can ask the audience a question. Do you have any friend with disabilities who you think should be here with us today? As in, how can we make the sessions easier for teenagers with disabilities to participate?
That's a question to me, right?
Everybody, but I guess you're the most qualified to answer.
Right. Well, it's interesting because one of the points about the Zoom is great if you are if you have both the sight and the hearing. What happens if you can't see or can't hear? And text communication is one way that most deaf people rely on day to day. And if you notice, every every deaf person has a mobile phone, and especially recently with all the other the social media. So deaf people have had the opportunities they never had before in their lives. They used to write letters to each other, get answers for weeks. Now, and also for blind people, if you see the blind people actually communicate in speech, text to speech. So those are the two features that the modern platforms like Zoom are essentially starting to build in. So we could actually activate something called a closed caption. You could get that in Google Hangout, you could get it in Microsoft Teams, and Zoom has also added the facilities. So we've developed, or we work with companies who develop this, so anything I say automatically is transcribed, so it appears as a subtitle. It's not human beings doing it, it's actually computer recognizing my voice and converting. Now, if you can't recognize it in one language, then you can translate it to another. So the same platform, you could speak in English, and a person in Portuguese could actually have it translated live, and then they can speak in Portuguese and I can see it in English. Now, I demonstrated that yesterday to Marcelo last night, but there wasn't enough time to do it for this session. However, if you're interested, I could show you how that works. Now, that's quite a very important tool. Even in a classroom, if you have children who are autistic or have hearing loss, if a teacher is teaching and that those children are not actually included, they don't know what's going on, then you lose that child. And that's the kind of situation I was in when I was young age. I couldn't see, so I wasn't taking notes. If I wasn't taking notes, I wasn't actually learning. Now you can make sure that every child is included in that teaching using different tools available, which is built into your operating system, Office and Windows and Mac OS. So these are very basic tools, but we need to get the teachers to start looking at delivering the teaching in a different method that they've done. They often thought 20% of children have disabilities, 80% are okay. We don't have time for the 20%, it's to a specialist. Trouble is that 20% end up becoming 80% of the problems in the society. You know, they become unemployed, they become unhealthy, they go to prison. Or that happens because they lose out on life opportunities. Just imagine if you stop that happening at a young age of about 5 or 6 or 7. You will not have to spend billions on prisons. You will not have to spend billions on your health. And you will not have to spend billions on supporting people out of work. And you could use that money to progress. So these are the things that I think I'm out there trying to tell the teachers, the planners, and make sure the world is inclusive. You know, if you have a friend who's a wheelchair user, just imagine if you want to go into a building and there are steps, unless you have a ramp, that child is not going to go in. So how difficult is it for a building to have a ramp? Education is the equivalent of that. If you have the technologies to make sure every child can actually take in what you're delivering in a content, in a like a teaching, then they have an equivalent of a ramp. Very basic things to do, not difficult, not expensive, but it would be a life-changing for a lot of people. And that 20% is increasing. Mental health is as a result of people not having opportunities. You know, if you lose the opportunity to get a job or you don't get income, the first thing that happens, you lose your confidence. And when you lose confidence, depression and that is really irreversible, because there's nothing to make it feel better. We've got to really stop that.
That's great. Any additional questions that you may have?
I have a question. So you mentioned about, let's say a deaf person is in the class, right? And I know of like there's a school for deaf people in Singapore. So I was just wondering whether it's more convenient to put all the deaf people into one place, but when they go out in the society where not everyone is deaf, they'll have to manage how to interact with people who are also not deaf. So do you encourage like schools that brings all the same types of people together with the same disabilities, or is that a bad idea?
It's a bad idea, but you need a specialist support, but you need to really have children live in a mainstream environment. Because what you do is you create ghettos for people to belong together. That's not how the world runs. You know, just imagine a school full of autistic people, a school full of deaf people, and a school full of blind people. How would they survive when they come out? They won't. That used to be the case. Now we realize by having that special support in the mainstream, you can actually integrate the children into schools. And children don't live in a perfect world. Don't try to pretend that there is no imperfection. Everyone is the same. Everyone grows up with their full 5 senses intact, and they all look the same. They all, you know, of particular make. We are all different. The world is different. We are all diverse. And the beauty of this planet is that we need to, you know, the earlier Mark was saying, it's one single planet. And what makes it beautiful is the diversity. Otherwise, you have the same food every day. You see the same house and the same people every day. Life is very boring. So, and also when you start looking at problem solving, if you all go to the same school, all have the same approach to problem solving, then there are problems you'll never be able to solve because you're the one who created the problem. And if you knew about the solution, you would have done it. When you start bringing other people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different capabilities, you find that they find the solution. Einstein was dyslexic, right? He was thinking differently. If it wasn't around, where would we be in terms of science? We need to actually be very careful not to, out of kindness, condemn people for a life of dependency on care, which none of us want. And I think